now live in a world of pervasively digital production and distribution of meaning. The video you are watching now has been created and delivered to your device through a process of transposition of meaning involving a function we have called quantity. Meanings of various kinds are turned into quantity so you and I can participate in them. There on the left side of your screen are some words I have typed. Here on the right is a two-dimensional moving image of me. You can hear me speak. You can see my body, including my gesticulations. You and I are participants in a multimodal meaning, but all these meanings are reduced to base 2 for the purposes of counting and calculation, and then representation to you in this particular combination of otherwise grammatically quite different forms of meaning. Here's a screenshot of web-delivered business television. The practical existential consequences of this convergence of digital meaning into a single underlying technology is the overlay of voice, image, embodied presence, text, and the diagram to a degree that was not possible in analog media. There are also new kinds of relationship to me as participant. Web TV channels like this get to know about me by the patterns of my interaction with it, in order to target more effectively with advertising and to customize my newsfeed. The zeros and ones that perform these multimodal transpositions are impressive in the number and speed of their megapixels and the megabytes of their sound samples. The text behind me has been generated in a word processing program. Typed text transposes into the numbers you see here. Then it is transposed back to text again when the file is called up for reading. However, more remarkable than these kinds of calculations is the fact that we have come to agree about their meanings. The device for the manufacture and distribution of meaning talk to each other, and because they can talk to each other, we do too. This happens by the use of ontologies in the technical sense, and here are some examples. Unicode is the universal scripting system of the digital world. There can be, however, many fonts or kinds of visual representations of text, but to travel from device to device and from one point of creation to another of rendering, the characters of text pass through the shared ontology of character encoding. There are now over 130,000 characters in Unicode from every human language, present and past. This search through Unicode for a letter of the alphabet mostly brought up phonemes, representations of the sound of speech, though of course the numbers and some of the symbols that came up in this search are ideographs, standing for ideas. The search for face mostly brought up emojis, though it is interesting to see that this includes a Chinese character as well. Unicode today is mostly ideographs or ID units, and in the digital era, we're increasingly using ideographs. Take the navigational icon on the digital devices, for instance. Our friend and colleague, anthropologist Jack Goody, used to say that we're all turning Chinese now, and in some respects, he's right. Here are dentistry symbols in Unicode, so dentists can share the meaning of your teeth. If Unicode captures every textual option available for digital meaning, every communicable ideograph, whether phonemic or ideographic, then the question arises, who governs our meanings? The Unicode Consortium is a not-for-profit funded by its members, and the members who foot the biggest part of the bill get voting rights. Adobe, Apple, Facebook and Huawei are fierce rivals, but they need to be able to share text. There is a point where capitalism needs cooperation, so companies create for themselves this low-level, behind-the-scenes, not-for-profit system for the governance of our meanings. A strange kind of international socialism, if you like. The World Wide Web Consortium, or the W3C, manages web standards, the most important of which is HTML, or hypertext markup language, as well as other powerful and widely used variants of its underlying principles, including XML or extensible markup language. In the terms we have been developing in this grammar, HTML and XML separate function from form. What we call the function of meaning, HTML and XML call structure and semantics. Our concept form, HTML and XML call presentation. Text is marked up for its functions. In HTML and XML, then rendered differently on different devices according to the style sheets each uses for presentation. In other words, our form-function distinction is an integral aspect of the world of digital meaning. This is one of the practical reasons we have framed our grammar in this way, as a way to make sense of meaning in the digital era. So if Unicode is the universal character set, HTML is the universal grammar of text. So I ask again, who governs these meanings? The answer, when I looked it up just now, is 428 members, a handful of non-profits and universities, including the University of Illinois, but mostly companies. In the old days, when democracies supposed themselves liberal, elected governments regulated the media.
And some more examples just to illustrate our point. These are the companies that contribute to the International Colour Consortium, the definitive scheme for identifying colours and aligning these with colour matching schemes that web designers, interior designers, printers and brand managers use. Here is the website of the Moving Pictures Expert Group, another not-for-profit regulating the standards applying to the interchange of sound and moving image. Ethnologue is an ontology of every living language. GeoNames is the definitive list of the 25 million nameable places in the world, sorted by over 600 kinds of place. Among its sponsors are CasinoBonus.com and DatingAdvice.com. Our bodies and their ailments are comprehensively described in extensible markup language in the International Classification of Diseases. Here are some bodily afflictions and the codes whereby a doctor can communicate with other doctors in relatively unambiguous terms, a medical record like one of acquired absence of teeth. By adding up the dollar value that's attached to each of the treatments that go with these conditions, the insurance company can assess how much the doctor will be paid. In this case, the standard is maintained by the World Health Organization, but this slide is from a company that aligns medical descriptions by doctors to the standard. Then there is the systematic and unambiguous naming of every saleable product. The number that goes with this product is called the International Article Identifier. Nail polish remover and assault rifles have different product numbers, and with them come classification schemes that categorize these products by their different kinds. Then there are the person databases, which unambiguously disambiguate you by your email address, your phone number, or facial recognition identification, and then that triangulate these to create identities across contexts. Compared to these ontologies, speech is hopelessly old-fashioned and anachronistic for its vagueness. How has this come to be, we want to ask? Who is in control of these non-negotiable catalogues of everyday life? And what are their interests? So, a myriad of ontologies describe the ordinary material things of life. In most domains, these have shaken down to just one or two ontologies. They also operate above the level of the various natural languages in the world. Often they have been translated by humans at their source. Other times, they can be translated on the fly with machine translation. Here is yet another place where language is becoming an unhelpful category because this happens purely in text. Quite unlike text in this respect, speech is irretrievably tethered to natural language. We're also moving into a world where, by these kinds of transpositions into text, differences in spoken languages are becoming less and less a barrier to participation in meaning. Don't worry, because you won't be able to read the text on this slide. We have it on our website at meaningpatterns.com. What we have here is a listing of just some of the ontologies in the digital world mapped onto our transpositional grammar. It's only the roughest of rough maps, indicative of a general idea in a future project rather than being in any precise sense accurate, let alone definitive. But our general point is this: For the digital world, we want to argue that these ontologies are profound, not the algorithms. The algorithms just count things. Ontologies answer the question, what things? We've just been talking about ontologies in the technical sense, where in the digital world our meanings have been mechanized. But in this grammar, we're just as interested in ontologies in the philosophical sense, to offer an account of the patterns of meaning in the world. Here is a marvellous picture by Salvador Dali. It is a picture of one of our favourite people in the really imagined world, Alice, and her shadow as well. Alice becomes a participant in a world of crazy queens and capricious cards. With Alice, we revel in exploring the senses of the world, appalled at times by its senselessness, and hoping that by its parsing we can help change its human sensuous experience, and for the better. One such change would be to create a world where everyone is freely governed by themselves without the destructive effects of unbalanced conflicts of interests, and where they are free participants in self-governing communities of meaning.